Today we're focusing on the close range meta. The spreadsheet is updated with the most current changes to the weapons. You can kind of see how the TTKs lay out in this little section. And I've highlighted what I think are the hard meta weapons, and then the other ones that you can definitely use and are viable depending on the situation, your play style. And between those three, it's really going to come down to preference. Obviously, the AMR kills very fast at 576, but if you get 3 limb shots or stomach shots, it bumps up the TTK to 648, which isn't all that impressive. And that's why the WSP9 or the WSP Swarm or the Striker or the BP50 are able to compete with something like the AMR, because if you jump, they happen to miss, they're going to get a slower TTK. The Ram 9 is disgusting. It actually has the most consistent or reliable fast TTK at 585. And if you manage to get one headshot in the mix, doesn't matter if you get all limbs in one head, you will get a 520 millisecond TTK, which is clearly faster than any meta that we've had. So that one will definitely delete, especially if you get that one headshot. Just keep in mind that it goes up to 10 meters. And then we have the HRM, which is very solid all the way around. And the little nerf that they gave it was just a little bit of a shorter range, which is okay. It brings it down to about 14, 15 meters, depending on the build. So I thought I'd start off with a couple fun builds. These are definitely using meta style weapons, but they are built for tac stance or tac strafe. So first one off is the BP50 tac stance strafe build. And this right here is mainly the tac stance build. If you want a little bit more strafe speed, you could actually get rid of the Bruin angled and switch over to the FTAC MSP 98 hand stop, which is going to give you more mobility, but not quite as good as tac stance. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like in game, because the tac stance is really the main part. You can see how quick you can move, especially on keyboard and mouse. It could get kind of crazy. Obviously I'm on a controller, but you can kind of see this, the spread isn't crazy there. If you want to mess around with more plates, you can. I wish there wasn't walls here so I could just stay on target, but you can kind of see how it goes, and it gets pretty good range and accuracy out of something that moves like that. So it's more of a gimmicky fun build to kind of experiment with it, take advantage of that fast TTK. HMR, very much the same way. There's a couple different routes you can go with this one. If you wanted, you can get rid of the Hatchet Light, which this one's more for mobility, and then you can actually get a tighter tactical stance by going no stock. And you'll see with this one, it's still pretty fast on its own with this specific build. Same thing with the angled, you could switch to the FTAC, and then that would give you a little bit more mobility. So you kind of got a couple different options to swap out tac stance, like how tight the spread is, versus the actual mobility. So if we go in here, we can go ahead and get this, and it gets rid of any of the iron sights. You can see it's not nearly as fast because it's more the tac stance build. And then what we can do, like I said, if we wanted to go all out on that, we can actually go there, and then this will get us a slight bit more mobility in our tac stance. So you can see, and that's just kind of how that part works. And you want to go full on, just kind of breaking down how you would build out the loadout if you want to go like full crazy. Obviously, the recoil is way insane, so you would never use it regular ADS, but you can definitely use it like this. It'd still be pretty accurate. When you slide, you can slide into it, and then you're good with your tac stance, especially in Warzone. You'll be set up and good to go. So 2 gimmicky fun builds, very good TTKs, and then it's going to bring us to the Striker 9 and the SMG BP50. So obviously that's a tac stance build, but the BP, it is a rifle, and it just managed to have a good bullet velocity, which is kind of nice. But on top of that, you can build it out like an SMG because the close range TTKs are pretty good. We saw like, I think 630. And that's a pretty reliable TTK. We do have the Reliant IX comb, which I'll go ahead and move my camera real quick and go ahead and see that if you want your screenshot, and then we'll go ahead and jump in there. This one is an ADS build, so it's designed to be able to use at that medium to long range. And this is probably like something similar to what I would use for a sniper support build. Maybe you want to put on an optics so that you're like able to chow the range a little bit further, much easier. I wish it had a bigger mag. It reloads kind of slow. And 45 doesn't quite last as long as you'd want it to. There's kind of how that one works. And then we got the Balance Striker 9. I think this one, it still needs a slight buff to really jump into the meta. It's good because it is a balanced build and more build around movement. I do tend to like suppressors on most of my builds. So I generally will run those over a lot of other attachments. It just depends on the gun. We have the Ram 9 along with the WSP 9. This is kind of a main go-to for a while. WSP 9 is kind of one of those ones I don't generally like because it fires too slow up close, which I feel is too punishing, but it does kill rather quick and it has a decent enough range. You just got to be aware of that open bolt delay, which will slow down that first bullet coming out every time you pull that trigger. Then we got the Sprint to Fire Ram 9. The biggest problem with this, the Ram 9 is much like the AMR, it has a terrible sprint to fire time, which can definitely get you caught up close more than at long range where you're going to be pre-aiming or ADSing. Up close, you can get penalized by that. So that's kind of what we're solving for with the build. And we can go ahead and see here, this one is the same build I've had forever for the WSP 9. I don't necessarily, I mean, I've tried plenty of builds. I think it doesn't have a ton of recoil. I just don't like this fire rate. It's just way too slow. I don't like the sound of the gun. I mean, I don't like much about it. It just is what it is though. It can take out targets. It's accurate. It is good. But then as soon as you run into some faster killing, fast firing guns, you tend to get outgunned unless you just do not miss, which no one's that perfect. And then here we go, kind of built out. Like I said, sprint to fire for that Ram 9. It does have those iron sights that we're used to. It doesn't move much. It has a little bit of the visual, but we've done things with the 2 attachments to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. And it still has a decent sprint to fire. Not fast like what we're going to see with the HRM, but it's still very good. And that fast fire rate is very forgiving. Again, one headshot makes this thing broken TTK wise. And that's going to bring us to the HMR as well as the suppressed AMR. And I think this is the main go-to just because of its versatility, consistency. It moves a little bit better. It doesn't have that sprint to fire delay. It just all around is a very solid option. Even though the AMR can and does kill faster most of the time and at further range with better bullet velocity, the problem is if you get those limb shots from the lower limbs, if somebody jumps, you get a stomach shot, you get 3 of them, you're generally going to lose the gunfight against somebody who's using this weapon or the Ram 9. So you kind of got to balance that out. So here's kind of the build for this one. This was more built for like, you can kind of use it. You can see it's not going to be kind of crazy. So this one, I think you do get caught. I feel like the mag doesn't go as far, even though it's 50 bullets. I don't know if it's just I would prefer 70 or something like that. It just doesn't feel like crazy with this one. I feel like I down 2 players and then I'm caught reloading or something like that with that one, but it is what it is. It's kind of how it's built out. If you want to go 100 round mag and go crazy, you definitely can. It will slow you down quite a bit. You can see the sprint to fires over 130, which is definitely one of the slower ends of the guns. And then we got the HMR. I did a full video on this one. This is one of the builds. There's like 5 different really good builds on this gun. It really just comes down to preference and what you're going to like to use. The amount of bullet velocity you need to hit targets, the amount of strafe speed, the aim down sight speed, when you come out of a slide, and how you're going to be able to shoot the target, right? And it works out really well. Let me know what are your favorites in Season 2. Appreciate the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.